Welcome to WP-Tonic, episode 93. Today on WP-Tonic, we're going to be going over security, Jonathan.
It certainly is how to keep those hackers and all those horrible people from getting and ruining your beloved and great WordPress website, Bill.
Right, and you always hear that can be done, but I've had quite a few websites up for 2 years now. And I've only had to reload them twice. Two of them I had to reload twice, set them back a day, and bring them back.
Yeah, it's totally true, Bill. You know, I don't think WordPress is any more or less secure than other content management systems, but because of its popularity, Bill, it's just becoming an increasingly bigger target for the hacker world. And you know, you keep all your plugins and you keep your themes, and you know what you're doing, and you keep it all updated, and you don't have a bad experience, Bill. But it's nothing worse than having a money site and then find either a plugin takes it down, or the hosting provider lets you down, or a hacker gets in, Bill.
You know, the stories I've heard more than anything, the host providers have problems, or they get attacked, and that hurts everybody. And if you do have a money site, your host provider is probably more likely to bring you down or do something stupid than your own site.
I think it varies, Bill. I think it varies.
Well, Bluehost, for example, everyone knows Bluehost, SiteGround. Some of these were hit quite a bit the last few months, and they've been down quit a bit. They were. Now they're better, especially the cloud.
Yeah, hosting providers are target folks. You know, they are a bit of a, they are a bit of a honeypot for people that, if you're into that game and you're into it, obviously there's all sorts of hackers, folks, from the kiddie scripters that just go to certain Google findable websites and download freely available scripts which look for publicized weaknesses in WordPress websites, to your real hardcore Russian, Eastern Europe, East Asia professional hackers, as I call them, that are actually, when they get into the site, they don't actually want you to, or anybody to realize, and they are seeking data or information or resources which, for financial gain, that they are a more serious breed, Bill, because a lot of the times you won't even know that your site's been hacked. Because they don't make it obvious, Bill.
Right. And that's kind of scary. But there's things you can put in there, right? That we can actually.
That's what we're going to go through, Bill. Quickly,
plugins.
We're going to go through some of the things. So let's start off. I start off with something that's not directly linked to WordPress, Bill, and that's passwords, though. Obviously, one of the improvements recently over the last couple core updates of WordPress is that they provide a much stronger password generator. But on the other hand, it's not only about the master admin password on your WordPress website, folks. It's the passwords that you use for your email account, the passwords that you use for your social media accounts. It's all those type of passwords. So when I say passwords, I mean not just for your WordPress site. And what we recommend, there's a couple of tools. Bill uses one, I use one. Bill uses LastPass, and I use 1Password, and they're both fantastic, aren't they, Bill?
I'd say LastPass has really, really improved, too, since I started using it last year. Maybe over a year ago, and I forgot who bought it. One of the big guys got it, LinkedIn or somebody bought LastPass. And it really, really works well now. And it's got a new 4.0. It's just so simple once you get used to using it. The only advice I'd give, as soon as you apply LastPass to your password, or you have a new site or whatever it might be, immediately go back and check it out and try to log back in and see how it works. Because then you can go recover. A lot of times you need to put the login path in there, and it might have a different path. So you put just the login path. And then you check your passwords. You can also leave notes there. So LastPass, They say it saves 50 to 100 hours a year. For me, it probably saves a lot more.
Oh, the two that I've just mentioned, they generate passwords for you. So, and all you have to do, folks, is just remember a master password, and it will make the whole thing much more pleasant, much more secure. And there's nothing worse than having your email compromised or your social media compromised, and it can lead to your website being hacked into as well. So I would say passwords first of all, then housekeeping, keeping your core of your WordPress up to date, keeping all your plugins up to date. If you've got plugins that are not activated, folks, and you don't think you probably are going to use them, remove them, folks. Don't leave unactivated plugins on your website. That also includes themes. Don't have a load of unactivated themes on your website. But on the other hand, a little maintenance tips, folks. It's always best to have one additional theme not activated and still keep that on your website. The reason why I'm saying that, folks, is sometimes it has happened when I'm working on client sites that the parent-child theme that somehow gets slightly corrupted and you can't log into the site. So basically, you activate the spare theme.
Jonathan, if you can't log into the site, how do you activate the spare theme?
You go FTP and you put the theme that is activated, you rename the folder, and then it automatically, if there's another theme,
It'll default to that.
It will default to that, Bill. Yeah. So that's a little tip, folks. That can really save your bacon.
I didn't know that. Thanks. Because I just have Genesis in there and I call it a day. And
yeah, just have one spare one. Use one of the free
216 maybe.
Yeah, whatever you that come with it. But I remove all the rest, Bill. You don't need them. You're not going to use them. So it just reduces less risk, basically. So they're kind of little housekeeping tips, folks. Then we get on to what Bill mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, folks, and that's hosting. I'm not going to spend an enormous amount of time on this, folks, because it's a very grey area and everybody's got their favourite hosting provider. And as you progress with your online business or your website, your requirements will change. But on the other hand, buying a decent hosting package from a decent provider is important when it comes to security. Would you agree with that, Bill?
Oh, yeah. DigitalOcean, the thing that you develop and work with a lot of folks, seems to be very, very secure, very fast, and it has less opportunity for anybody to bust into, as opposed to the big guys.
Yeah, but it's not suitable for everybody, at the right stage.
It's expensive. It's actually expensive. It's not the place to start.
Well, as a I'm going to get a bit techie here, folks. All of DigitalOcean setups are virtual private servers, and actually, as the two account levels that we recommend to 90% of our clients, I actually think they're fantastic value, Bill.
Yeah, they are, but not when not unless you have a business where you're making money on your money side.
That's what I agree with you, Bill. What I'm saying, folks, is that you probably don't need a virtual private server when you're starting off. You just need a good managed hosted account.
I like the basic SiteGround now for $100 a year. Yeah,
SiteGround, Flywheel, InMotion hosting. I think they offer some good shared hosting. They seem a reputable company. SiteGround, like I say, Flywheel.
Yeah, SiteGround's got an amazing customer service.
Flywheel, WP Engine. But like I say, I think WP Engine, great company, Bill, but you've got to be a bit more serious. It's not cheap. But, like what I just said about DigitalOcean, it's probably an appropriate solution at the right time and at the right level. So I've just threw, there will be some extensive notes, folks, so don't worry. I'm going to have all these links in.
Jonathan, now we need to go to break.
Want to turn your WordPress website into an online speed machine? Go on over to WP-Tonic. They'll set up DigitalOcean websites hosting on solid-state drives. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for WP-Tonic's maintenance packages. WP-Tonic offers some of the very best WordPress maintenance packages on the market. So those who are serious about getting the very best platform for their WordPress sites, make sure you go on over to WP-Tonic.com.
Hey, coming off the break, Jonathan is going to go to the Swiss Army plugins. These are the basic plugins that we all need. I've got a few I might bring up too.
Yeah, folks, we go on. So we dealt with themes, plugins, basic housekeeping, passwords, decent hosting. Now there's some really great WordPress security plugins. There's a couple that I use, but there's also a couple that I don't use, but I would highly recommend. The two that I combine with is iTheme Security and Securi. I use those together. When both you can get for free, the iTheme Security, when I'm working with a client, I put the pro version on because I've got a developer's license, and I put the pro version on a client's website that we're helping. But we do combine it with Securi, and we find that's a really strong combination. They're both very large plugins. One tip, if you're doing this yourself, one tip is on the WP-Tonic iTunes site, we've got a very popular video that shows you how to configure these two plugins together. I would suggest that you go and have a look at that. The other thing is with these two, it's really quite easy if you're not careful to log yourself out of your own website. You can do that. They both provide screens, and the first thing is, do you want to put this IP address on a white temporary list? You really want to follow those instructions, because otherwise you can end up logging yourself out of your own website and you can't log back in, Bill. That's a little bit embarrassing. They're both quite large plugins, and like I say, they've got a lot of settings. Another one, which I think Bill uses this one, which seems fantastic, but I haven't personally used it, is WordFence. WordFence Security.
Mm-hmm. Really easy to use.
You like it, don't you?
Yeah. A lot of people use it. Here in Reno, down at the WordPress meetup, some of the top WordPress folks actually use that. And we talk about it and how much you can do.
Yep. Another one that I put on, it comes with a free version and then a slightly more sophisticated version, which is a pro version, is BBQ. Barbecue, block bad queries. It's a kind of really funky kind of firewall. And I put it on, and I don't activate Securi and iThemes. I put this on, and I found it's developed by a great WordPress developer, Jeff Starr, has written a number of WordPress training books, and he does a number of really fantastic plugins. And it's just a nice lightweight firewall, stops some of these script kiddies. There's certain things in WordPress that you should block that are open in the normal installation, and this just closes some doors, Bill. So I put that on. So we covered, like I say, all these plugins that we've talked about, just kind of hard. There's a term, folks, and it's called hardening, and it's the process of making your website more and more harder to get in. I'm going to touch a couple quick things to end our discussion, folks. One of the main things that I wouldn't say script kiddies do, but more hardened, more technically proficient hackers, there's two things that they look to get into your website, and that's getting access to the config file. The config file will have your master password. What we do for clients is inbuilt in WordPress is called salts, and these are called salt codes, and you can generate them. You switch on a particular, I'm looking for the right word, in your config file, it's blanked out, but you can unblank it, and then you can generate these salt codes, paste them in to the config file, and it will make it much harder for somebody to log in as admin and get hold of or get access to this config file. So that's something we do for clients. Also, your file permissions which most WordPress websites are hosted on Linux, some form of Linux, folks, and it's normally not always now, but it was mostly on a Apache, and your folders. Your config file should have certain file permissions that if you're not going to change that config file very often, and you shouldn't really, you should set it. There's other settings in it that makes it can't be remotely changed or accessed. So we normally do that as well, Bill. Was that making any sense, Bill?
It does. It's a lot of detail.
That was a bit techie, folks, but it will make it a lot. Some people also change the table names. The WordPress always has its tables is WP underscore, and then it has the name of the table. They changed that. I think some people really like doing that. We don't actually do that. We haven't found that very effective. Another thing which iTheme security does, and I don't know if WordFence does, is I know with iThemes, and also there's some other plugins that do this for you, folks, is you change the login URL address, which is normally the domain name / wp-login.php. You actually change that address. A lot of the script kiddies, they try and do brute force attacks, and these scripts are aimed at the normal URL structure. So we actually change that login URL, Bill, and that stops a lot of the brute attacks. That works. Then regularly, with Securi, they've got their fully professional hosted plan, but their free plugin does malware scans, and I would suggest like every couple of months you use it and you do a malware scan of all your files just to see if something's happened, and obviously keep that Securi plugin up to date, Bill.
Right. Make sure that everything you use is compliant with your theme and doesn't cause conflicts too. Got to test different plugins. What's one thing about WordPress? WordPress is great, but you got to make sure it's compliant with your theme. So that's what I've learned too. And
Some of them, they do conflict and you've got to use another security plugin. Yep. The last thing, which is one of the most serious, which is a little bit techy, it's a SQL injection. And that's basically your whole WordPress website is powered by a database. And it sends queries to this data. Everything about the website, the structure, the layout, everything is basically database queries, and they inject code into some of these queries, and then they can get access to your admin account and get in, and that Securi give kind of security notices, and there's other information, and that's another reason why you want to keep everything up to date. And that's one of the main reasons where WordPress, we as a company, Bill, WP-Tonic, we tend to switch off automatic updates because we're managing the sites, and we like to have full control of when the core gets updated and even the security patches. If you're not got a company helping you with it, I wouldn't suggest that you switch off automatic updates off, because it's really important to get the security patches, and they are mostly around the query injection problems where they have identified certain scripts that are trying to do that, Bill.
Right. And, the thing is, the difference is if it's a hobbyist or you're building up, or it's not really a money site yet, you're not making money on that web page, then you can have them all on working. But sometimes an update will take your site down for a period of time until they fix it. And figure out the conflict between the plugins.
That's totally right, Bill. That's the other thing I didn't mention, because we have discussed it before, backup. Having multiple backup versions and, not relying on like what Bill said, your hosting provider. A lot of people say my hosting provider does a backup. Well, that should be one of your last resort backups, folks. And what Bill said at the beginning of this conversation is a lot of the time your hosting provider is under attack, and they can lose, they can have their backups of your website compromised. So you need your own backups, and just not one backup. You really need at least 2 backups that you control and have the backup that the hosting provider has.
Especially if it's your money site. And money sites and non-money sites is 2 different things. If it's your happy blog, you could probably recover it somehow. But the last thing, we didn't really touch bases. I want to mention this. It sort of has to deal with these issues of security. But like Akismet and blogging, things like that, and guest posts, those can cause some problems. So Akismet, for example, is a good basic protection against blog and spamming. But when you get spammed, it can cause you problems because they're trying to inject or figure out things of your website. Never quite understood it, but I know that you don't want to really accept anybody who's left a comment when it's just a bot leaving the comment. And you can tell. They'll say, "Hey, I love your website. You look so good. You're so perfect."
Well, they never say that about me, will they, Bill?
No, I get tons of those, but it's nothing.
Well, you are perfect, Bill, but they're never going to say that. They're never going to say that about me, are they, Bill?
No, but you get those blogs, those bot blogs all the time, I'm sure.
That's a great point, actually, folks. Allowing comments is one. That's where the history of WordPress, where it came from, allowing people. And I'm not saying, it just needs a lot of, there are great plugins and services that reduce it, but there's still a lot of admin that you're going to have to do yourself. So you really got to make the decision, am I prepared to spend the time on the admin of where I'm allowing people to post comments on my posts? And just be aware of that. And the last thing, Bill, is I agree with most when you said the difference between a non-money and a money site, but it's not. It's also time, because some people have a real passion, a hobby politically, or they've got some hobby and they want to share information, and they spend a lot of time on their website, and they have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of posts. And to lose all that content would be really painful, Bill.
You need to back it up at least once a month, a post like that. Off-site. Just have a plug. We've talked about those. Hey, Jonathan, we need to go to a break. We'll come back with how the listener can get a hold of us and the one last thought or idea.
Buying or selling a home in the greater Reno Tahoe area? I know the best CRS real estate broker, and that's Karen Conrad. And you can find her at KarenConrad.com or call her directly at 775-527-7021.
Okay, coming in off the break, a couple things. How the listener can get a hold of us. WP-Tonic, Jonathan, what best place for you?
Yeah, WP-Tonic, folks. If you want to get hold of me personally, it's Jonathan at WP-Tonic.com. We also do a Saturday blab on Blab starts officially at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it will end at 11 o'clock. So we have a great community and we have a good discussion about all things to do with WordPress.
And for me, WP-Tonic is Jonathan's site, but it's one of 4 podcasts I've been involved with the last couple of years. WP-Tonic, of course, has been number 2 for a long, long time in the WordPress search, which is really huge. Did a little research into that, Jonathan. I was talking over to some other folks in podcasting world, and that is actually huge to be number 2 as long as we were in the category. That is actually a category in a search category of WordPress.
We've gone down recently a little bit, but I hope
the Apple gods. Who knows?
Well, you're talking about the one intern in the Apple office. See, I've said Bill laughs, but I think I'm right. I think there's only one Apple intern in that office, and he just chooses, he or her.
They might have a bot in there. You have to have ratings and reviews. Those really help. You got to keep those going. And I don't think we've pushed those very much. By the way, the listener, if you want to go over to WP-Tonic, go over to the iTunes site, just search that, and do a rating and review. That really helps.
Oh, that would be fantastic, folks.
That helps. And hey, the other thing, too, is we've got the other shows. We've got Meet the Voter We've got the real estate agent. Well, actually, it's MailRight Real Estate Agent, and that show out there. And then I've got Timelines, which, believe it or not, Timelines is my favorite show, but it's actually per episode the least listened to show. No, I can't say least. No, it's pretty close to the real estate show is similar, but it varies. If I do a local podcast, we actually get a lot of people. Actually, we get more.
So you're planning on not fully retiring, being my co-host, aren't you, Bill?
Well, I'll still be around with Jonathan. I've taught Jonathan how to podcast actually in the last 2 years. Now he's going to do the really hard work. He's going to start editing this show, and I'll come on from guests from time to time, and I'll always listen to the show. It's very good content. But my bandwidth is not so big. I actually have to spend more time working on websites and promoting and working on less. So I'm going to be doing timelines because that helps my wife a lot, especially when I do Reno. And I'm going to be working on actually studying and becoming better at the process of net hooked into timelines because I don't even have time. I was doing so many podcasts. I was doing one a day and some other stuff and programming, and I had like no time at all. So Jonathan's going to be doing all WP-Tonic. The MailRight Real Estate Show we'll be working a little bit back and forth with that. I will be doing timelines. I'll also doing a very short show, which is Meet the Voter, with short little clips. I actually produced a political commercial yesterday that went down to Las Vegas for my company. It's a good one. I actually put it up on the RSS feed.
Well, all I wanted to say, Bill, is thank you so much for all your help and support with WP-Tonic. We've had our moments where I've driven you to madness and you almost driven me. But I think as a partnership, we've produced some really fantastic quality podcasting and really great WordPress stuff. And it was actually Bill's suggestion that I got into podcasting. So I actually owe Bill a big service by suggesting this because it's been one of the main tools that I use to build up the kind of mindset around WP-Tonic, and it was Bill's initial suggestion. So Bill will be coming back. He's not, I totally understand because Bill's got a lot of other things that he's got to really concentrate on. And I just want to say, Bill, thank you for all your support and help with this podcast.
Hey, one last thing. It would have never made number 2. Both the MailRight, the real estate show, actually made New Noteworthy. And this show made number 2 in WordPress. Well, without working as a team, both of us together, that wouldn't have happened in either of the shows. I think you drove up the reviews on the real estate show, and I packaged them up so we got a bunch up all at once. So I think it takes teamwork, and it's a lot of work doing a podcast. But the podcast's not going away. We can share it back and forth. Anyway, Jonathan, good work. I think you're ready to take over WP-Tonic all by your lonesome. I think it'll be good too.
Well, I'm going to be doing the editing, folks. Don't worry. We've got some news, and the show will continue. Bill will be coming back occasionally, and we drive forward.
I'll be coming up on Saturday morning from time to time. And I'll probably throw in there some ideas of what we're trying to develop. By the way, let me give my sites. Podcastershome.com is one of my home bases, Podcasters Home. I'm really working really hard on something called netcastershome.com, where we really take podcasting to the next level. And the next level, by the way, folks, it's changing a lot. It's getting out to more than just your iTunes and your Google+, but it's getting it out on all the different platforms and getting it in video format. I mean, there's a big discussion in the podcast world right now. I'm still a big believer that you always capture video when you do your podcast. And I want to continue to develop that. Also, I'm working on learning management systems, LMS. A lot of work, a ton of work.
Certainly is. Well, we drive forward. That's your favourite term, isn't it, Bill?
Right, drive on.
We'll drive on. See you later, folks.
Hey, this is Bill. I just want to thank Jonathan and crew, and I want to especially thank the listeners who have helped make these 93 episodes. WP-Tonic, the WordPress show, one of the top shows in category on iTunes. So thank you. I'll be around. Make sure you check me out at timelinesofsuccess.com and, of course, podcastershome.com. We want to thank Share the Oils. Share the Oils, Northern Nevada. We thank you for your support.